time for Wednesday's hour number 2 on Hashtag Daily K with your host, Peter Bint. Korean dramas, movies, and even lyrics. Why is the world paying attention to Korean stories?
From classics to modern masterpieces, time to dig deep into the charms of Korean literature.
On Check It Out
with Paul.
It is a Wednesday. Paul is here to do some reading for us and also just being an entertaining fella in general. How are we doing, Paul, on the 9th day of August?
Is it already the 9th?
It's my birthday tomorrow, Paul. So
happy birthday for tomorrow.
No, I don't want an like you've just found out. I hope that was in your diary and that is part of the surprise.
I rely on social media. I get the email every morning telling me whose birthday it is.
Do you still get that notification by email?
By email.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I remember that ages ago. Is that still a function of that social media platform?
I don't know. I never turned it off.
Wow. Because the only way I ever see, and to be honest, I'm terrible with this, I ignore it every day, is on Kakao Talk, where it's got the list if you look at your friend list.
I'd never do that.
Yeah, that's the only way I can do it, because on the Book of Faces, mine... I remember that now you mention it. Used to have that function. But yeah, if you go on to Kakao Talk and your list of friends, it has friends with birthdays there.
Yeah.
And it even has friends with birthdays yesterday for some reason.
Just in case you forgot.
Yeah, and then it's got a link to a gift shop encouraging you to perhaps say sorry for missing their birthday or something like that.
So how do you feel turning 40 tomorrow?
It is the big 40. And do you know, when I was younger, maybe in my early 30s, from that time, I was thinking about my 40th and, having a big birthday party, inviting everybody.
I haven't got an invitation.
Don't worry, there's no party because, I don't know, I've realised as I've gone through my 30s, I've gone from someone who's quite social and I would meet people and like going out for a drink and stuff like that, to now, on the cusp of my 40th birthday, realising I don't think I have any friends to invite.
Do you know what the problem is?
What's the problem?
Children.
It's all their fault. What should I... They owe me then, right?
Look,
tomorrow they need to give me something special.
You're in child prison until they turn 18, and then you'll have friends again.
Really? Do you think then... Okay, let me work
I'll
this
still
out.
be here.
The 50th birthday, they should... both be 18.
Great.
Or older. But then it's too late because I've only got Ellie will just be 18. So I'll have 3 months to make a million friends.
Yeah.
I don't think that's possible. Or is it possible?
I don't know. You have to keep wishing people happy birthday. I think that's the answer.
Okay. I'll just spread the happy birthday love. It is the 9th of August. I've found on my calendar this lies slap bang in between 2 of those seasonal divisions we have in Korea.
I'm looking forward to August 22nd.
Oh.
I'll tell you that.
What is August 22nd?
Chuseok.
Oh, as the Chuseok as in...
Chuseok.
Chuseok.
It's the day when the two lovers separated all year get to meet on the heavenly bridge made of crows and magpies and cry tears of joy and sadness and cool down the weather.
I did not know that.
I'm surprised. I thought you would have covered it before.
No, we haven't done that one. We've done all sorts, but I'm going to ask the writer now. I'm going to send her a message right now.
Jinyo and Gyonu.
On the 22nd
the two famous
of August.
lovers, it's the lunar calendar.
Uh-huh.
But this year it falls on the 22nd.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because what we had yesterday was Ibchu, and what we have tomorrow is Malbok, the last dog day of summer.
Well, Malbok's not really a seasonal marker.
Okay.
That's its own separate thing.
Oh, really? Is that why it's so close? Because usually these are spaced out quite well.
Yeah, exactly. So if you look, you've got... You said Ibchu?
Ibchu yesterday.
Yeah, and the next one will be Chuseok on the 22nd.
Well, on my calendar, I don't know if this is right or wrong. It says the 23rd is Choseok. So I don't know whether you've said it wrong, whether it's not on my calendar, because my calendar also has Malbok, which you're saying is not one of these proper seasonal divisions.
It's different.
You're being very snooty today, Paul. If it's on my calendar, it works, because my calendar also says Peter Bint's birthday tomorrow.
Okay.
Chuseok, August 22nd, is on your Google search engine there.
Yes.
Okay, well, I don't know what my calendar's playing at. Okay, sorry. But anyway, what I wanted to say was, yeah, that means yesterday was initially the first day of autumn. Tomorrow is the last dog day of summer. Well, that puts us in a strange, like, twilight zone.
Well, the thing is, it doesn't start to cool down until Chuseok.
All right, because of these lovers.
Yes, exactly.
All right, you're a firm believer in stories, aren't you, Paul?
I am.
And that's why we're lucky to have you on the show. So why don't you go away and introduce the book? Not go
away?
Go ahead. Don't go away. Stay close by.
I'm really
Paul.
upset that I didn't know it was your birthday.
Absolutely.
Okay, today I've got another free online short story. Nothing too
Ooh.
taxing because it is very hot.
Okay.
From one of my favourite Korean writers in translation, Pyun Hye-young.
We did the whole, didn't we? And
Yes, we've done a number of her books. I think almost always translated by Sora Kim Russell, as she is today. It's a short story called O Cuniculus, or Tokie Myo.
Oh, Cuniculus?
Yes, so O stands for Oryctolagus.
Oh, that makes sense then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oryctolagus cuniculus is the Latin name for the European rabbit. The rabbit that was domesticated in Europe and bred as pets and has spread all over the world.
That is the name for it. I've never heard that scientific name. And of course, yeah, even though I studied science, I don't know the scientific name for most things, but I would have thought for the rabbit, which is a very common pet, you might have heard that bandied about once or twice. But
I guess it's a bit of a mouthful.
is it just me, or did you also...
Oh, no,
not...
I didn't know what it was either.
Wow, okay. Tokie myo. Tokie meaning just a rabbit. That's not a scientific name in Korean at all, is it?
Well, it's the name in Korean.
Just for rabbit.
We
right?
don't actually say Oryctolagus cuniculus in English either. It's the Latin name.
Okay. All right. So we're talking about rabbits?
Well, we're talking about a man who meets a rabbit, finds an abandoned rabbit, and we witness 6 months of his life in a different city at a temporary job that doesn't really seem to have any purpose at all.
Oh, that's curious, isn't it? Myo, having looked it up, just wanting to confirm he's like grave or tomb. I think.
Does it?
Apparently.
Okay.
That's what it says in my dictionary. We're going to talk about it later? Maybe
Look,
not.
If you haven't read the script, Peter, then I can't speak to that.
Listen, I tell you every week, don't I, that I just want to be surprised. I want to be on the ride that our listeners are on. So tell us about the author. I'm going to be surprised by all these facts.
No, you're not, because we've talked about it before.
But I've deliberately forgotten for our new listeners
She
to
is
be in the same position.
amazing. She was born in Seoul in 1972, went on to study creative writing, got a degree in Korean literature from Hanyang University, and first got published in 2000 with short stories. And then she's won numerous prizes, including the Shirley Jackson Award for Best Novel in 2017 for The Hole, which is the first one of her stories we featured, which is absolutely terrifying.
Spooky, horrible.
It's terribly good in that wonderful way that you just get really creeped out.
Yeah, good for the summer.
Yeah, so 3 of her novels have been translated by Sora Kim Russell. The Hole, City of Ash and Red, and The Law of Lines, all of which we have featured on the show.
Oh, yes.
There's another one coming out October 3rd. The Owl Cries comes out, also translated by Sora Kim Russell. It's a slow-burning noir thriller. I cannot wait for it because it is going to be so good.
It does sound like a good title there with owl and rabbit in this one. Animal themes. Translator Sora Kim Russell. We were lucky enough to meet her.
We were. It's been a couple of years now.
Yeah.
But I mean, she's a favourite on the show. You know, she's an incredible translator. She's translated so many short stories, so many novels. Some of the best Korean authors have her translation mark on them. And she is absolutely amazing. If you see her name on a book, Sora Kim Russell, you know it's going to be a good translation. This is an early one of hers. This is going back a decade or so. But it's really interesting to see these earlier translations of lesser-known works by famous authors.
Fabulous. All right. So, first reading, as it's a short story, are we taking it from the beginning?
From the very beginning, the story will start to unravel because it's all about a rabbit. A rabbit. He turned at the sound of rustling in the bushes and spotted a ball of white fluff. What he'd mistaken for a white dog was staring at him with red eyes. He wouldn't have known it was a rabbit if not for the eyes. He knelt before it. The eyes held him captive, As he gazed into them, relief at the thought that he was not the only one in this world with eyes red from exhaustion washed over him. And he chafed to think such a being had been stranded in an unlit park for so long that its white fur had turned filthy. It was not wild. Someone had left it there. Raising pet rabbits had been trendy for a while, but now the trend was to abandon them. Having lost interest in chicks and hamsters, to say nothing of puppies and kittens, children had turned their interest to the baby rabbits taken from their mothers before they were weaned and sold out of cardboard boxes in front of elementary schools. Convinced by the vendors that these mini rabbits would be both easy to raise and educational, the parents slowly gave in. It started with 1 or 2 families. Then every child was pestering their parents for a pet rabbit. Only after bringing them home did the parents realize there was nothing fun, easy or simple about raising rabbits, nor was there anything to learn from watching them chew strict rations of hay all day. They weren't even affectionate like cats or dogs. In fact, they were not so much pets as freeloaders. Given the cost, it would have been better to raise them for meat, but the thought of boiling and eating them was repulsive. The children lost interest in them immediately, leaving the parents to care for a rabbit that would live 6 to 8 years on average. The oldest rabbit on record had lived for 18 years. At that rate, they would still be around by the time the children graduated and were off to college or ready to get married. With the economy always uncertain and hard times never far off, even family members could look disposable. The parents couldn't stomach the thought of spending a decade caring for a rabbit that did nothing but chew hay. Nevertheless, they did learn one thing from the rabbits. You could come to hate anything if you stared at it long enough. So one of them, usually the father, would sneak out after dark, dump the rabbit in some bushes somewhere, and quickly return home.
Welcome to Arirang Radio.
If you are in Jeju,
88.7 in Jeju City.
88.1 in Seogwipo City.
101.9 in the Daejeong area.
Arirang Radio.
Rabbits. It really does go deep into rabbits. Then it's not just the throwaway title. At least
No, but it is a throwaway
part.
rabbit.
Ah, yes, literally, isn't it? That he's met in the park and then gone on this kind of deep, interesting tangent about rabbits being a trend in Korea. This is written, like you said, quite a long time ago, because I don't think
written a decade ago.
They're not trendy at the moment.
No.
Like, I'm keeping my
And I hope
finger
not,
on the pulse.
because the idea of taking rabbits away from their mother before they're weaned is not good.
That's horrible, isn't it? But you do like the baby animals, you know, in terms of the cuteness levels. But should they all not be with their mothers?
They
at that
should be.
age?
Like for example, when we adopted our cats, you know, we were very careful about how long they needed to stay with their mum.
Ah, really?
So there was this definite 3-month period where, you know, take time with your mum,
Yeah.
you know, drink her milk,
Okay.
get used to being a cat, and then you can come on over.
That's definitely responsible. But I guess, yeah, when you're selling them in front of the elementary schools, which is what they used to do with chicks as well, right?
Yes.
Then the kids are just like, oh, I really want one. And me as a parent now, you know, my daughter's like that with dogs in particular. I think she's been wanting one now for so long that I think she realises how difficult it might be and she still wants one, but we just don't live in a big enough apartment.
You get a small dog.
Yeah, that's what she keeps on saying. Paul, I don't need someone on her side. I need
I'm
someone
on her
my
side. As long as you adopt, don't shop, Peter.
No, because this is what I think. This story really resonated with me. I felt like they were describing me. The parents suddenly
you a
realised, wait, the kids lost interest almost straight away. I'm going to have to look after this thing as a freeloader. you know, because I have to pay for everything.
Yeah.
Medical bills can be really expensive. And yeah, maybe you'll have the dog after your kids have left home. That would be crazy.
Well, then you won't have empty nest syndrome.
I want to feel empty nest syndrome. So the guy who stumbled across this rabbit, this made me think of, there's a park near Soremo where they just have rabbits like running around there. I don't know if they're wild or, I'm guessing those were abandoned as well.
I'm not sure. They're very used to humans.
Yeah.
Because they do get fed, I think.
Yeah, I think
and
so,
they're very
right?
sweet.
Yeah, they're quite nice. But is this guy like just in the park and he stumbled on a
Yeah,
rabbit? Or
yeah, he's
was
just
he
found
going to
it.
abandon his own rabbit?
No, he's not got a rabbit.
Okay.
Well, he does now. Yeah, he's just found it. He pets it. It sits still. Doesn't seem to be afraid of him. He takes it home.
Oh, wow.
He orders a cage and then he wonders, maybe I should have just left it in the park because I'm only here for 6 months. And once my temporary job is over, I'm going back home.
Uh-oh.
And he's got a weird job.
Okay.
He has to go round the city collecting documents and making reports on these documents.
Okay.
And it's basically the same thing every single day. And it feels really weird. It feels like when you're at school, he feels like a schoolboy being asked to write, one of those punishment letters.
Okay.
I was wrong because I did this and da-da-da-da-da. And that's what it feels like. And then when he finishes the report, he gives it to his section leader and it just gets thrown onto a towering stack of papers.
Doesn't seem to make a difference.
No. And at first he was anxious, like, have I done right? Have I made a mistake? Is it okay? And then nothing. And so one day he messed up the numbers in the report deliberately. No consequence.
So they're not even maybe getting looked at all.
Exactly. And so the anxiety went away, but at the same time he's like, why am I doing this?
Of course, meaningless.
Yeah, and he thinks back to when he first got this job, his superior talking to him on the phone. He was sort of saying, you're like a hunting dog. You're just going to bring in any data and we'll decide if we want it or not.
Okay.
And the superior's like, but, I'm also a hunting dog, basically. That's what
Okay.
I am too. The thing is, the main character, he wasn't consulted about being sent on the job in the first place. Before he was even asked, the decision had been made.
That he's going to do this.
Yeah. So he said yes, but he was going to go anyway. And so he goes into work the next day and he asks everyone at work, look, do you have a rabbit? I need some help. Does anyone know anything about this? And his section leader is like, no, don't bother with that. They're all temporary here. They don't know anything about rabbits.
I'll just don't even bother asking them.
Yeah. And then there's another really weird thing. His superior who hired him, who got him to come, disappeared right after he arrived.
Oh, so this is another superior.
Yeah, this is the one who compared him to a hunting dog. And every night he goes to his superior's apartment, knocks on the door, wondering where he is, trying to find out if he's there. No answer. No one's home. So, him in this job that really doesn't make any sense. He's got a rabbit that he's starting to get annoyed with.
Oh, no.
He doesn't care for it properly either. And then he stops taking walks in the park because he sees on the news this video footage of a stabbing, and there's this half-naked masked man with a knife.
What?
And he starts to get very afraid.
Oh, that's taking a turn, hasn't it?
Yeah, and so this next part is all about that video.
All right, let's hear the second excerpt.
The video made the national news and aired all over the country, but several days passed and nothing happened. An expert appeared on television to say the man was probably an exhibitionist, but anyone could have guessed as much. The police didn't do anything either, as the man in the video had not committed any crimes. All they did was strongly urge citizens to be aware, saying that an attack could occur anytime, anywhere, without warning. The man began to fear his neighbors. Any one of them could have videotaped himself with his shirt off, holding a knife. If he heard a neighbor's door open, he made sure to keep his door closed to avoid bumping into them. Sometimes he heard the elevator stop on his floor, but no one got off. When that happened, he felt afraid. For all he knew, a 30-something-year-old man could be hiding in the hallway with a knife, waiting for someone to step outside. If someone came near him when he was entering the building, he started and changed direction. When he suddenly turned like that, the person walking behind him became even more startled. If someone entered the building as he was getting on the elevator, he pushed the close button quickly to avoid being alone with the person. One day as he was coming in, he saw someone on the elevator hurry to press the button and close the door. After that, he started to relax. He, too, was a stranger. His fear was no different than anyone else's. He thought it was because he was new to the city. With time, he would get to know the place better, but by then, his job would be over. For the first time, the man was eager to talk to someone. It had been a long time since he felt that way. At some point, he'd grown accustomed to being alone with no one to talk to. Since arriving in the country, the longest conversation he'd had was when he asked a shopkeeper how much a bag of rice cost. He hadn't even realized how long it'd been since he'd talked to anyone. But the video filled him with fear, and he realized he could be a victim of that randomly brandished knife, that his body could rot away inside his small room, undiscovered by anyone, and that he had no friends in this city. He wanted to talk to someone, but all he had was his superior who had disappeared. It was intolerable. Unable to bear it one day, he asked the section leader if he'd seen the video, but the section leader just shrugged without looking up as if it were no big deal. "But the apartment in the video," the man said in a low voice, "looks exactly like mine." The section leader slowly lifted his head. "I don't know if this will put your mind at ease at all," he said, "but it looks like my apartment too. All of the apartments in this city look alike." His words were reassuring, but the man didn't feel any better.
Oh, so this person has come from another country for this temporary job.
He's out of towner.
Okay, and he seems very worried about this video. Does anything happen? Does he meet the criminal? Does the criminal get caught?
No, nothing really changes. People forget about it. There's just fewer people on the streets, and the man starts to feel embarrassed he'd ever been afraid.
Okay.
And then his section leader disappears, changes.
Okay.
Suddenly there's a new guy there, but it doesn't change the work. It's still the same.
Weird work.
Yeah. He starts to pay more attention around the office. He looks around every day. He sees the people either in their white shirts or their black jackets, and they look like pieces on a paddock board. And the new section leader says, you should pick a younger colleague to assist you, because they're going to replace you.
Okay.
And so he does what his superior did. He contacts someone by phone, even uses the same hunting dog metaphor, and realizes how ridiculous it is.
Yeah.
And on the day his young colleague comes and starts work, he stays at home. And he decides he's going to blame the rabbit. If anyone asks, why did you skip work, he's going to say, oh, the rabbit was sick, I had to deal with it.
All right.
And the rabbit has escaped from the cage. It's had diarrhea. It's pooed all over the floor.
Oh, no.
His apartment stinks of dung. But the smell fades, and he doesn't go to work the next day.
Okay.
He's got an excuse ready, but he also knows nobody's going to ask about it.
Nobody even cares if he goes or not.
Exactly. And he stares at the rabbit, but the red eyes make him feel uncomfortable, so he covers the rabbit's cage with a black cloth. He writes reports at home. He looks up information online. And in the evening, there's a knock at the door. And he looks through the spy hole. There's a young man in a white shirt and a black jacket. And he stays quiet until the man leaves.
Oh, it does seem like we're going round in circles here. Interesting. I can't wait to hear the third and final reading.
In the U.S.,
Arirang Radio.
we are on Sirius XM, Channel 144.
The man kept staying home. He didn't feel nervous until payday, but when he checked his account, the usual amount had been transferred. He figured that was only natural since he was doing the same work at home as at the office, and he withdrew some cash to buy rabbit feed and get something to eat. Someone knocked on his door every day at the same time. 15 minutes after he finished work, the knocking started. He never responded. Some days the person knocked gently as if on a bathroom door. Some days, the person banged on the door as if angry. Some days, the person sat in front of the door and muttered to himself. The sound was muffled by the door, so he couldn't tell what he was saying, and perhaps for that reason, he felt the person was more interested in airing his grievances than in finding him. His job ended at the scheduled time. He packed slowly. He threw out everything he'd bought since his arrival. His belongings fit into a single suitcase. At midnight, precisely when his job ended, he paid his rent and took his suitcase and the rabbit. Despite the irregular feedings, the rabbit weighed the same as when he first found it. He released it into the bushes in front of the building. The rabbit did not nip at his pants or try to follow him. It vanished into the bushes as if it knew what it was supposed to do. He planned to walk away even if it cried, but it didn't make a sound. He brushed the fur off his hands and thought to himself as he pulled the rattling suitcase behind him, "The world is full of abandoned pets."
That's quite a melancholy story. I don't know. I feel a bit down and depressed for this fella.
That's what I try to do on a Wednesday.
Bring us all down. Oh, so the rabbit doesn't even care. They've not got attached in any way. It seems nobody is like friends with him, or nobody's attached to anyone in the office. Just seems like we're all kind of alone in this story.
Yeah, feels like purgatory.
Oh, just going round and round.
Exactly. He's abandoned. The rabbit's abandoned. He abandoned his job. He abandoned his replacement. It's a short and I think it's quite a nasty tale. It's not horrific.
Okay.
But it's really sort of creepy and unsettling, and it makes you feel quite bad, and also makes you consider what your place in life is, and also what your place in your workplace is.
Yeah, I'm guessing. And I'm hoping that it's not the same for us, like people notice if we're here or not. But in certain office environments, maybe you're just this little cog and people really wouldn't know if you're there or not.
Exactly.
And your work doesn't really make a difference.
Yeah, this is the thing. And it's also about not just how at the very beginning we had how humans can start to resent their pets, but also that resentment can fester between work colleagues.
Of course.
You know, people, the more time you spend with people, the more you love them sometimes, or the more you hate them sometimes.
Yeah, that did resonate with me as well. That was a brilliant line in the first reading. You know, you can come to hate anything if you stare at it long enough.
Yeah.
I'm guessing if you're in the cubicle, and I don't know, I guess you might not even dislike the person next to you, but if you just keep sitting next to them and you don't really fond of them, like you said, if you're fond, maybe that can grow into something nice. But if you're just like indifferent, you might just end up hating them for no other reason that you're seeing their face every day.
Or it could be the document that you have to open every day and work on.
Yeah.
And every time you see that file or the title of it, you just hate it more and more. And the other thing that's interesting about the story is that it's about abuse. It's about the cycle of abuse.
Okay.
That he seems to do what was done to him. And it's also that reminder that the bullies are often the ones who'd been bullied. And the way to get their power is to bully someone else.
Sure.
And so it's also the other terrifying thing of that we are our own parents. Even though we don't want to admit it.
It's just gone round and round and round. But the thing that makes this really unsettling is it's not like outright bullying. I didn't notice in this story.
Oh no,
right?
no! Rather than the bullying, I'm saying it's abuse of the system and abuse of others. Yeah. Okay. Where it's like you're just not being treated well.
It's really subtly.
Yeah,
and you can't put your finger on it, but wow.
And the funny thing is, we're very lucky in terms of the job we're doing right now.
Yeah,
we get immediate feedback.
Sure,
almost all of the time. Is there the messages coming in? You know, on the YouTube chat or wherever.
Yeah.
People let us know if we're doing a good job. People let us know if we're doing a bad job.
But that's good because we get feedback,
Yeah, the point is we're getting the feedback. But it reminds me, I used to co-host a early radio show, 5 a.m. to 7 a.m.
Yeah.
And usually between 5 a.m. and 6 a.m., we would get no messages. And sometimes I was sitting there and I was talking into the mic and being entertaining and going, is anybody actually listening to me right now?
In your head?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I didn't actually say it out loud. I said it during the song break to my co-host.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so it sort of captures that sense of being jaded or feeling frustrated with work that doesn't seem to produce results. And maybe that's because there's other things happening and there are results down the road.
There might well be, right?
But you don't get to see them.
Yeah.
And the human brain, we work on rewards.
Sure.
You know, if we don't get the reward, if we don't get the moment of satisfaction or the moment of result, then we don't get any pleasure from it.
Yeah, it's hard. I guess we weren't evolved to look at long-term rewards or indirect rewards. Our primitive brains maybe need to have that instant feedback, you know.
Sure, I think long-term is possible, but it's when there's no reward at all, where it's indirect, as you said.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like any reward is coming in this story. It's just, he's finished, he's done. So
He's done.
they'll never know. And
Yeah.
it seems, I like that. That was really spooky when he got the knock on his door and he's kind of realising, oh, this is happening to me now. I'm the superior who's disappeared. Oh,
I'm the rabbit now.
that gave me chills, absolutely. This is an old story, like you said, a decade old,
Yeah.
right? But I guess it's maybe really relevant with COVID recently, isn't it?
I think so, because work has changed. Not as much in Korea, I think, as in other countries, but in countries where there were lockdowns, that whole idea of suddenly the way of working changed. And you start to go, well, why did we have all those face-to-face meetings?
What was the point? Yeah.
Yeah, so it also, I think it rings true, and you know, one of the reasons I chose this was because you're turning 40.
Thank you.
Because as we get older, we also get more jaded about the work we're doing. Not all of us, but some of us, like, I've spent 20 years doing this, and what have I got to show?
And that, you know, we can say that a bit tongue-in-cheek, but I had a conversation with one of my really good friends in the UK a couple of, months ago, and he was at that stage, you know, he was turning 40.
Yeah.
And we're all from the same year in school. And he was having a real crisis, really thinking, what have I been doing with my life? Like, working in the same office for nigh on 20 years. He was like, I just don't know what's the point of what I've done.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I'm going to do in the future as well. Where does this lead to? You know, when he was young, he was thinking, you know, I'll go on the whole corporate path and I'll become an executive and bish bash bosh. And now he's realised, was it all worth it? What was the point? What do I have to show for it?
It wasn't worth it. There was no point to it.
Yeah, I think that's how he felt. And I was like, I don't know what to say. I was like, you got to value your life and your family, and, you know, that's the important stuff, and maybe go and try and find something you love to do. It's all very easy to say, but to put it into practice sometimes, you get stuck in those ruts.
You do, and also society tells us, you've got to work hard, work harder, get a good job, get a promotion. But there's no real point to it. At the end of the day, if you're only valuing yourself by the work that you do, when you stop that work, you have no value.
Yeah.
You have to value yourself as a human being.
Yeah, they don't tell you that, do they?
No, well, no.
You value yourself. That's what's important. Don't worry about your job. You can stay away.
No, worry about your job, Peter, because there are listeners out here who want to listen to a good show, and quite frankly, today it's been a shambles.
I'll be back tomorrow. All right, I'll give it another bash. Let's see what happens. Give us your one-line review for this, then, Paul.
A Korean Kafkaesque tale of responsibility and work.
Oh, you know, I'm not very literature savvy, so I've heard Kafka, the name, bandied about.
Yeah.
Is it this kind of feel to it?
Yeah, even more so, because it's novels or novellas. Yeah, that idea that there's a whole system and we don't know how it works, and yet we're part of it and we have to obey the rules even though the rules are opaque.
Oh dear, I'm definitely not going to enjoy one of those. This is making me feel really weird at the moment.
Existential dread is what you need. The day
on a
before
Wednesday.
your birthday.
Yes, thank you very much on a big milestone birthday at that. Thank you very much for your reading, Paul.
Thanks to you. Thanks to everyone. Thanks, as always, to the Literature Translation Institute of Korea for the help with copyright permission for the broadcast. Thanks to Pyun Hye-young for a fantastic story, and to Sora Kim Russell for her excellent translation. Next week, another short story available online for free. It's New York Bakery by Kim Yun-soo, translated by Brother Anthony and Sonjae. You can find it on his website, New York Bakery by Kim Yun-soo.
Oh, that used to be the meeting point at Gangnam Station. I wonder if
It
it's
did.
about that or an actual New York bakery. You'll have to stay tuned to find out. No
No, you know,
no
because-
spoilers.
no,
No
you can't
spoilers.
stay tuned for a whole week.
No, you do. You 24/7 Arirang Radio airs. I am a company corporate man till the day I die. Have a wonderful week, Paul. We'll see you next Wednesday.
See you then.
You can listen to Check It Out with Paul Matthews on Arirang Radio's #DailyK every Wednesday from 10 a.m. KST.